nothing else, he can pick us up from the
That's true. You can watch.
video. However, I did not get the minutes. Did we get the minutes and I missed them from last meeting?
Yeah, we have them.
I think they were sent a couple weeks ago.
Sent them on the 30th.
You're not used to that.
No, I'm not used to that level of efficiency from myself or anyone else. Boy, okay.
When I did them, they were always 5 minutes before the meeting.
Well, they were a lot simpler then.
That's true.
Let me just. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna have to go shut my door. Are you on? My computer says wait.
There's Dean. Okay.
There's Dean. Is
I don't think I have the power yet. Oh, there. He just got.
yeah, hang on. I'm just answering John.
You having technical difficulties?
Sort of.
I see John.
Okay. Oh, you see him? Okay. Hang on. I just need to get my agenda thing and we need to close the door. I will be right back. So I guess we started prematurely. Okay, hang on. Okay, I'm back. We probably should have just done this from downstairs, but okay. All right, so we will call the meeting to order at 6:06. Agenda for the Southborough Historical Commission meeting Thursday, February 11th. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Section 30A, subsection 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Historical Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at https://www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: https://www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, all right, so I can, in all fairness, say that I read these minutes, so I'm going to probably have to abstain from the vote because I just got them now because I'm having email issues here. Did anyone have any questions or comments or problems with the minutes? No. Okay. All right. Well, then I would vote to approve the minutes from the January meeting.
Second?
Second. Okay. Kate?
Yes.
Rebecca? Muted, Rebecca?
Yes.
Yes. Jim?
Yes.
Anne E?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
And I will abstain simply because I haven't had a chance, but I will absolutely be reading them the next time. Okay, 84 Main Street, update with John Della Priscoli. Can someone bring him up to our happy company?
Unmute.
John, are you with us?
I am. Can you see me?
I can't see you. And you seem to be muted. Now you're unmuted. Well, this is an evening of technological progress. Okay.
Did we lose him?
He has a camera if you make him, what is it there? What is Vanessa saying to us?
So if someone comes in as a panelist versus just allowing them to talk, I think they have video as a panelist.
Oh, yes, we want to bring him up to a panelist.
Yeah, he's gone now.
I think he disappeared.
Okay. Well, let's wait for him to potentially return. Oh, there we go.
How about, hello?
John, we can hear you, I think, now. Can you hear us?
Yes.
We
You
cannot
can't see me?
we cannot see you.
All right, so let me see, what do I have to do? Somebody that tell me what to do. On this, I'm looking at the bottom of the screen. How do I start? Wait a minute, it says start my video. Okay.
Yes, there you go. Ta-da! There you are. Hello, hello.
So you can see me now.
We can
see
see
you.
you now. We
Hi,
can see
John.
Okay, this is the first one I've ever done unassisted with somebody here. Everybody's gone at my office. I'm here by myself.
Okay, well, there you go.
I
Start
usually just call in on a cell phone, you know?
start video is the key factor of the video process. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for coming and
Well,
giving
thank you
us
for
that
having me.
update for what's going on over there. We wanted to touch base and just, sort of hear what your progress is, what your news are, sort of what the construction timeline is, and all the other good things you may want to tell us.
Yep, I have a list of notes here and I'll start with where we are. So today was a big day. They actually turned on the new power to the property finally, all the underground power. So when you drive by there, the power that's overhead that you see where the carriage house is, the blue paper there can finally get sighted because all that old power stem and all that can be removed. So that can be finished, that corner there. In the powerhouse that's there, the gatehouse that we had talked about some time ago, inside there, I enclosed the generator that's needed to run the property in the event of a, natural disaster or loss of power. I also have all the switch gear for the house is in there. It comes from the street and is distributed. The transfer switch for the generator, so it automatically comes on in the event of a loss of power. The controls to run the whole irrigation system are in there. The internet interface is in there. Basically, it's when you get a chance to tour it, I'll give you show you what's in there, but there's an awful lot in there. The exterior is on the side that faces the street has been stone veneered. You can't see it because it's enclosed in plastic because we had to heat it in order to apply the stone. So that's being done now. The back of it that faces the pond and the front that faces the carriage house will be board and batten, just like the lover's cottage or the summer cottage or whatever, however you want to refer to it, look just like that. The roof will be slate, exactly matching the carriage house. The colors will match the carriage house, the corbels, everything will be exactly like the carriage house. I'm recycling a door that I got out of one of the buildings. I think it was out of the, either I found it in the carriage house or I found it in the cottage or something, but that's going to be the door. So when you drive up, there'll be two 2x2 windows, similar to the carriage house, exactly like the carriage house, in fact. And then an original door that looks very similar to the man doors on the carriage house. So it'll all look like it was built at the same period when I'm done. There's also a very small cupola. I found a period-looking little cupola with copper on it that will be put on there and be very attractive. So when all is said and done, you're not going to see anything on the outside that resembles modern technology. It's all indoors, enclosed in there. And it was a hell of a lot of work. The side that faces the street had to be block initially. I know you had gotten some calls as I'm building it. People can never wait till it's finished, to see the finished product. But anyway, the block had to be built in such a way that it's fire resistant and explosion resistant because the transformer is next to it. So if the transformer, somehow blew up, it won't take out the generator and everything else. And that's what a lot of these protocol was dictated by the power company that I had to do there in the electrical inspector. Now, the transformer that you see there has a big concrete base around it. It's really flush with the ground and stone around it. And the reason for that is if that ever leaked or somehow exploded, that's a containment vessel to contain the transformer, whatever's in there for liquid. But you're not going to see that either because I'm going to put evergreen. I have the green giants going along the wall there, and I'm going to continue there and run them around the corner there and tie it into the what I'm calling the gatehouse, and that will basically screen that little transformer that's there. So you're not going to see that. They wouldn't let me cover it, so I'm going to screen it with vegetation. They'll let me do that. I have to leave those yellow bollards that you see there are required by law. In case a car lost control, I guess, coming off Deerfoot and blew it, kind of came up the driveway somehow. But those bollards are going to be encased in vegetation. So they're going to be there, but you're not going to see them. I mean, visually. They're going to be there in the event in that extreme event, somebody lost control of a car. But, they make you do all the stuff for, it's very complicated. Took me 2 years to get that electric service done. Just so you know, between engineering, they engineered it 3 different times. But what that does now, it eliminates all the superfluous wires hanging everywhere and, and everything else that, so there's nothing that would tip your hand that house is modern, it'd be like it was in the day with no meter, other than what you see there now. So in a few more weeks, the building will be completed and that will be put to bed. The carriage house is 100% weather tight, except for that one corner that I couldn't finish because of the electric lines. Now that's going to be ripped off next week, I expect. And when that once again, the power company has to disconnect the wires from the poles. Once that's done, then I could do the corner, and that will wrap that up 100%. All the copper work, everything's done. I just everything is complete. It's completely weather tight, done, finished. On the outside, all the copper, I don't know if you've walked around or anybody has visually seen it, but the amount of copper work that's been done on that, especially on the rear. And I had to do a few little things because that building, I don't know if those of you, some of you are newer members, that building by all rights should have been removed. I mean, it was going to collapse anyway because the walls were out 8 inches on either side and the roof had dropped, I don't know, almost 9 inches or 10 inches. So what happens in a building collapses, the walls push out, the roof pushes in, and boom, it's gone. So what we did is we lifted the whole roof up back to as close as we could get it, and we reconstructed the whole inner core of that building with modern timber to tie it all together. And I had a structural engineer go over it. It's a combination of steel, wood, and what they call microlam beams. And that's why you see it all nice and plumb. But in the back that faces the gardens there, the sill was all over the place and the whole building was out of whack. So we had to kind of fake it in with a small soffit there. And it looks nice. It's all copper and copper gutter and everything. It looks like it belongs there. So those are some of the compromises you have to make when you get buildings to get them look true and plumb to get them back. That building was in really, really bad shape. For those of you that may not be aware, when I took the walls off, there was, 150 years of raccoon feces in the walls. And dead raccoons, live raccoons. I mean, it was horrible. So that was a mess, that one. That was bad. As bad as the chapel was, that was in many ways even worse. At least the chapel didn't have raccoons, So that's where that is. The main house is at the stage of the cabinets are being fabricated now for the kitchen. The house is very far along inside. All the mechanicals are in, and it's really far along. All the bathrooms are tiled, and I mean, I say that lightly. It was a huge job, all marble, hand cut marble tiles and things like that. Really a lot of detail, almost all the light fixtures are hung, a lot of the detail, all the cornice, a lot of the gilding is done. A lot of the floors are done. I would say it would be substantially complete by at the latest July 1st, but I'm hoping Memorial Day inside.
And your plan is to move in, right?
All right. Well, I'm just trying to give you a construction update. Then I'll give you my.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So that's where that is. You'll notice that there's a steel structure that was on the back, a steel skeleton that was erected. That you're not going to see that. That's going to be completely encapsulated in glass. That's the greenhouse or the solarium, period solarium that I'm putting on. That was, all these things were always part of the plans. That's going in there. And then next to that, there was a little carve out there, Michael, I don't know if you remember, but on the plan, there's like a square thing behind the house, which is kind of like things you can do, there's a little bit of more poetic freedom from restorations. You'll see it on the original site plan. Anyway, so there's a solarium going there, which is period looking. And then next to that is a 20 tucked against the building. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a stone wall holding the driveway up there. All the stone, by the way, matches the house. I went to great lengths to get all the stone, so it looks like it was all done at the same time. Anyway, there's a 20 by 40 pool going there, right next to the solarium, tucked in there, and that will be started in the spring. And that will have an endless edge facing the pond or the lake or whatever, the reservoir. Be quite, but it's like recessed, so you can't see it unless you're right on top of it. But there it is. That's the last major thing outside to be done site work wise. Is that I mean, it's been a long time since we talked, so it's going to take me a while to get through all of it. But the little lover's cottage that we call, or the summer house, that's all. That's pretty far along. We got kind of frozen out with the weather. And so that has a couple more weeks on the exterior, and then we're onto the interior. But all the mechanicals are done and everything else. All the light fixtures, all the light poles you see there. There's 49 light poles, and those are all powered by propane gas. So the fixture are being prepped off-site. The actual mantles and the whole thing that sits on top of the light. So there's when you look at the house, in a nice winter's night like tonight, you'd see gas flickering on all these, 49 of them. So there's a lot to it. I mean, I've really blown my brains out on this thing, but that's all right. I'm enjoying it. So you have the lights. There's a standing seam roof that's going on the front porch in front. That's been prepped and ready to go. See what else. The landscaping is basically 100%. There is a few things left to do. I mentioned the evergreens around the transformer pad. There's an irrigation system that has to be installed. The actual distribution for the irrigation, and the final paving on the driveways. And just so you know how that's going to be done, the binder is there now. So there's some repairs to the binder that got damaged during the construction. Once that's done and patched, and the gates, there's another set of smaller gates that are going in down by the carriage house, in between the carriage house and the gatehouse. There's another set of gates. They're on site, but they're not installed. Excuse me. There'll be a brick apron on Deerfoot Road, very similar to what you see on Route 30 there on Main Street, and with cobblestone picture framing around it. Then once you get past the gate, what we do is we roll in asphalt, and then over the asphalt we roll in. It's going to be a very tan colored fields, like little pebbles. They actually get compressed and vibrated into the asphalt. You don't see asphalt, but that's the basically like glue. And you run the stone in there. So when you look at it, it's going to look like a stone drive all the way around the house and down to the lover's cottage. So it's not going to be a sea of asphalt. It's going to be a stone looking driveway. Then the stone, I actually, when I'm all through this construction, I put aside a pile of stone, which I've had pulverized and made into pea stone. And that's what's going to be, the actual stone from that site has been processed and will be put into the spreader when in the spring, and then rolled in and then vibrated in. So the surface will be, it will look like stone, but it will be asphalt actually underneath. I don't know if everybody following me on that, but so the visual aspect is stone, but the structure of it's asphalt.
Yeah, technically it's chip seal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I don't know if you saw the sidewalks that we did and everything out there, but those are all done. I worked with the state, and I worked with a contractor that was doing Main Street, and I worked with Karen Galligan on that and got that all in. That's just about complete. The little park that's out there, I got some benches that I put there. I have an urn there. The urn has water to it, so when the spring comes, we'll have annuals bubbling out of there and kind of drooping over, and all kinds of annuals. So we'll look, it'll be a place of refuge for people when they come by, sit down. A lot of people, walk their child or baby carriages, bicycles, joggers, everything. I've seen a number of people sitting there already, and it's unfinished for them. I have two 19th century lights, cast iron lights that I got from an antique auction. They were from the Baltimore. They're like something you'd see on Beacon Hill. Those are going to be put out there. Those are going to be electric. I didn't want to put gas on the other side of the stone wall simply because I'm afraid if somebody come barreling down there and clip the gas light off, it'd be more complicated than electrical. And then there's and I think I showed you, or Michael or somebody, I bought a beautiful clock, a Main Street clock that's done by the place in Medfield that does all the street clocks for America, basically. A beautifully made clock that says Deerfoot on it. And I think did I forward you the picture of that, Michael? Did you ever see that? That was made. So there's a clock that was always part of, they worked it out with the town. You may not be aware of this, but the town leased me that corner for 99 years. And I adopted, it's not my land, but I've adopted it, and to put this little park in there. So there's a clock, there's the two street lights, there's the benches, the urn, and the brickwork. And there's a sign that I've developed that would be on my inside the stone wall, hung on a period bracket that I found from the 19th century, in a period, a arm and a post. And the sign I had developed in the French. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that? Is that readable? Okay. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is I would like to have one of the, like on the trail over there that I worked on with the folks that did the trail, Allen's Trail. I wanted to put one of those card reader things over there by those benches, so somebody could go up there, scan their phone on that, and that would pop up a whole story about the house from the early days of Joseph Burnett to right through the Garfield era, and right up to the girls marching out there and everything in between, and the restoration, and tell the whole story. And I was kind of hoping that it could be put together by your group, and I'm happy to donate for that. I think I mentioned that to you at one point, but I'd like to see a story develop that so when people drive down there, they could see that they could scan it, and then there's there's the whole thing right there. It all pop up like on a website or something. I don't know how exactly you do it. It's way beyond my pay level to figure that out, but
we know how to do it. Just Dean, just for the record, that the historical society would be taking care of that, not the commission.
But
the society.
okay, all right. So in that case, well, whatever. I wanted to make I wanted to make a donation for that. Obviously, that work. I think it'd be fun. It'd be some way to and I'd like to do that, because you have it on the trail over there. They scan it and it tells you a story about things. I don't know why we couldn't do that there. That answers a lot of people's questions that may want to know what is this house. I've gotten a lot of positive input on the house. People have called me from all over, and people, the president of Skinner Auctioneers called me and said they're just blown away by it, and a whole bunch of other people, and a lot of people in town as well, planning board people and so on. Let's see. So I'd like to talk about that, and I'd like to get working on that. So come in the spring, I could actually install that little, what is that called, Michael? The little card thing? There's a name.
Q something other. What are those things called? Those pattern things that you read with your phone?
Is it a QR code?
QR
QR.
code. Yes.
Yeah.
So can that send you to like a website or something?
Yeah, that's essentially what it does. It's your phone scans it, and it just takes you. It's a link to the website. One of the things we're going to be talking about over the next few months is that the town has gotten a grant to do some historic work around the burial ground and a history trail, which I'm hoping that we can actually link all the way down Main Street, ending with you and then coming back up the hill and then around the Holy Hill, as it's called, and then down along the Main Street. So, whatever we do, hopefully will become the model for that, so that all these signs are the same and would have the same type of actionability in terms of having people be able to look up pictures and other kind of things. So I was hoping Karen Galligan would be here tonight to join us to talk a little bit about that, but they're not quite ready because they just literally got this funding, I think last week. So she'll be joining us next time, and we'll have some updates on that. But I don't see that that'll be any problem, John, to create that.
So the Historical Society or the commission or a combination or whoever's interested could help with that. We could, because Alan Bazanson has a lot of photographs that could be incorporated. We'd have to ask him for those permission to use all that. But what I'm saying is I'd like to really, I'd like to make it so somebody could sit there, take a break from their walk, and then they could find out the whole history of the house. I think it'd be fascinating, and that's why I did that there.
It's absolutely doable. And, we're happy to take it on in the society as a project, but also as the commission to try to foster the larger picture of integrating these various areas together. That's been one of my goals from back in my first iteration here back in the late 90s.
Well, I just want you to know that corner was basically abandoned by the town. It was a place that just, people threw coffee cups and
a lot of accidents and other
right. And now they've kind of corrected the intersection there and made it more perpendicular there to the road and so on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be mowing the grass. I'm going to be doing the irrigation. I'm going to be maintaining that whole corner. So I'm going to basically take ownership all the way from Parkerville to Deerfoot and all the way down to the waterway. So that whole corner, from the waterway, where the silver poles are over the bridge there, all the way up past around the corner, all the way down to the beginning of Parkerville, I'm taking ownership of. The town has ownership because they have an easement to maintain that retention area that was put on my property. When you drive down Parkerville, you'll see it's all invasive species again. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Right on the right there's the brook, right? You have the brook. I've cleaned up the brook and gotten rid of the invasives on my side. My one neighbor there, Mike and his wife, have taken their property and kept it, clean of invasive. So you've got this one little small rectangle that is technically my property, but I have no real rights to it anymore. It's the drainage system for the road reconstruction that they took. So I've talked to Karen about that, and at some point I want them to maintain that and get rid of the invasives and keep it mowed or something, or figure it out, and she said they would. So, but I guess they haven't turned the project over fully yet to the town or something. I don't.
Yeah, that's out of our.
No, I just want you to know though, that's the only last little. But I personally, in perpetuity, am taking care of the rest of it. So the town doesn't have to come mow anything, and even though it's town land, I'm taking care of the bricks, and I did all that. All right. Let's see. So I told you the finishing. I'm targeting and answer your question because I want to answer the question in two ways. One is I have sold my house in Marion, Mass. I sold it in October, and I'm selling my other house in Carver, Mass. And I'm moving to Southborough. And COVID has changed everything in my life because the theme park I own has been closed for over a year now. So you have to look at things through the COVID lens, unfortunately. And I really don't want to be in the hospitality business and the bedroom business aspect of the hospitality. It's too, and I really want to come back to the area as well. So I'm going to be moving into the house. However, in the carriage house and in the gardens and in the chapel and the grounds where the gazebo is and the ponds and the bridge and all that, those outdoor areas, I am gonna consider doing small boutique weddings periodically, a few, 70 people or less, because I don't want any kind of tent or anything else. That's what you can fit in the chapel. Technically, you can fit 66 sitting down, but there's room for a few people to stand, and there's a few people on the altar there. So, let's call it 70 people or less. The carriage house will easily fit the way I've set it up, and I've made a beautiful little area. You're going to love when you see what I did in there. I lifted it from Biltmore, where they took the stables and they made them into restaurant booths. So I really, it's cute. You'll like it. So I made that, and that's part of it. And then the others like regular things. And I'm using a lot of my antiques and stuff in there. So there's a way you could have a wedding at the chapel, go over to the carriage house, have a little meal, take pictures, and so on. You could have music inside the carriage house, classical music or something small. And that's the kind of wedding that would be. It wouldn't be, something you'd see at one of these, huge wedding factory places. It's a very small type thing. I think it'd be a lot of second marriages and small, late, different, small weddings. I don't know, right now, I'm involved with the Wayside Inn as my main philanthropic endeavor. And, we haven't been able to do any weddings, because of the COVID thing. It's really hurt us over there. We've really been struggling there, but luckily with some of the PPP, it's helped us survive, Anyway, so that was one thing, but here's the other thing. So what I'd like to do, I'm a real Christmas lover of Christmas and classical Christmas, though, not the commercial Christmas that we're accustomed to today. But I would like to have in the chapel, I would like to have a few live singers and a few instruments. And then during, Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, during the Christmas season, have little concerts in there, then bring people over and serve coffee and espresso and things like that in the carriage house, and have like a little venue there for that, charge for that. I was thinking maybe one of those nights we could do it as a way to support some of the efforts of historical in town, whether it's the commission or the society or both, as a way to kind of give back. I think it'd be fun to do that, kind of like what we did with the the house tour thing, something along those lines.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of fun to
We'd
have.
love to get back to that. We're just, waiting ourselves out to,
Right, I know, we're not ready yet, but I'm thinking ahead, Obviously, this thing's got to turn around at some point. People can't live separately forever, everybody's either going to get COVID or be vaccinated. It's one or the other. Or have the antibodies. So that's one thing, would be the Christmas thing, and I've got some great ideas there. We do it one night a year. They do it at this little chapel in Carver, and it's really popular. And they have they have 3 singers, like a group of singers and a guitarist, and it's fun. And you sing Christmas carols. It's a way to bring families together and enjoy the holiday without all the waiting in line, killing each other, buying TVs at Walmart. It's something I really wanted to do, and I'd like to do it. And it's and it'd be nice because you'd go over to the carriage house, would serve, fresh baked goods, and would have, hot chocolate and espressos and, something nice. And then I told you about the small weddings. And the third thing would be during the Valentine period, like now, would have Valentine teas over there. So they'd have little teas for the folks. I thought that would be kind of neat. So that's so there is a little public component to the place, not as grand as originally, but something, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not going to do the overnight thing. That's a whole different kettle of fish with COVID and everything else.
Well, we're just excited to have the idea of, people walking around the place, and having the house inhabited again after all this long time. It's essentially been vacant, what now, John, 10 years?
Well, I just looked at that whole thing, and I actually bought it in 2012. And then it was like 2 years I just mothballed it because I was tied up with the theme park, which was at that time it was a wonderful thing, and now it's become a kind of a real drain. But anyway, so I had it for 2 years, and then when Moss approached me, I did that short-term thing with him, and then of course that we all know how that turned out. And then that was a couple of years working with the town to come up with a reuse plan. So that brings it up to 16, and then from 16 on, I've been on it full blast, remodeling it. And I'm just about there. I mean, all the hard work's done. It's just all the details. So there's a million decisions and things like that, inside that we're doing. But I mean, if you walk into the kitchen now, you'll see, I don't know how many chandeliers hanging there that have been prepped, all period, all French. Must be 20 of them there hanging in different stages of repairs. So it's
just briefly, John, what's going on with the Fayetteville Village Hall?
okay. So Fayetteville Village Hall, I've been using it as a fill-in project for now, and I have two full-time guys that do my painting and selective demo. Actually, three guys, and we've almost fully gutted it. It had to be gutted. The building had some structural issues. There's some carpenter ants or termites or something in there. Let's see. If you're looking at it from the street, it'd be the left rear corner from the street. It's a real rotted section there. The building is the way it was done is because it's all gutted now. It had truss rods holding it together, the upper plates on that gable, on that gambrel section there. So I need to lift the ridge. So I'm bringing the same structural engineer that I had do the carriage house, but he really can't do anything until the thing's fully cleared out of all the. So we're just looking at studs, and so then we're going to come up with a game plan to get it structurally sound first. I've got to remove the basement floor entirely and put a proper mitigation for the water issues. There's hydraulic problems there. So that has to be done. That will be done this spring and get going on that. And my goal is to get it really, really structurally sound first, shell. And then with this, I'm probably going to be selling the Carver properties, and my offices are now in Carver. So I'm probably going to be moving to Fayetteville Hall, my whole operation, which would be very nice because I could, walk to work.
Almost.
Almost.
Almost. it's a longer walk than you think, but you can get.
It's a long way.
Get one of those
who knows?
bikes like I have, John. I'll tell you, you can zip around town like crazy. It's the best thing.
I just had my knee replaced, so I'm still recovering from that. And I went through that whole thing. That was the rehab and that. If you've ever had that done, you already know. But the rehab is horrible on that. But I'm pretty far along now, so I'm around and I'm getting around. So Fayetteville Hall is coming along. I'm excited about it. I'm going to be occupying that. It's going to be restored. I mean, it's going to be basically shelled and redone, So the first step before you do anything on the outside is getting internally structurally sound. And that's what we're doing now. And if anybody's interested, I'm happy to show you what the issues are. But, it was, if somebody hadn't come along soon, that was another one that was going to go down on its own.
I remember the substantial water problems, especially in that corner.
But there's a lot of moisture in the wood there in that one corner. There's infestation there of some kind of insect. I'm not sure what yet. But there's nothing I can't handle. The windows are all, I don't know, they're really garbage that were put in there. They're plastic windows at one time. And I kind of wanted to sit down with you guys and talk about, the thoughts of I went through the thing with the planning board, but that was really out of their scope, I thought, and I think it's more appropriate that you guys, collaboratively work with me on the palette of the outside, And,
yeah, we'd love to.
And I'd like to see it go to, the building was built in 1911, I believe. And I'd like to see it go to, I'd like to see it go to the 2/2 style windows, but I'm flexible. I can go to the multi-pane windows. There'll be historic replacement windows, but what's there is there's nothing there, as far as historical importance, except for the staircase. Everything else in that place has been hacked, and I mean everything.
We have photos of whatever the original windows would be.
Okay.
So
I saw those. They were multi-pane, but I don't know if those were, original, or if you think that it would be more appropriate. I mean, it's up to you. It's the same money either way. It's just, and I have no real preference. I like the 2/2 look. It was used a lot in the early, late 19th century in farmhouses and stuff. And,
Yeah, we can take a look.
I mean, it's up to you. If you want to stick with the multi-panes, what's in there now is an abortion of what was there.
yeah. Well, no, because we have those photographs taken, I think. Well, we have the photographs from the first flu epidemic, so we know those,
Yeah.
1919, and that building had just been built.
Okay.
Also, you had a fountain for the front of it again, didn't you?
Yep, I have a fountain
Yeah.
I have a fountain. I have one, a nice Fisk fountain. You know that name, Michael, right? Fisk.
I don't know.
That's
No.
a classic. Those are the big 19th century cast iron maker. Yeah, I've got some stuff. I've got some neat things for it. I've got a cast iron. I got a bunch of interesting things. I mean, the planning board, there was a lot of constraints put on what you can and can't do as far as lighting and things like that. But I got through it, and so it's probably going to be I mean, that building's going to fly on the rehab because it's not like the house, the big house, because the big house, I left all the woodwork intact and I'm fishing wires and patching and, it's a whole different thing. This thing's gutted. So this is like, and it's not that terribly big building. So it's going to fly once we determine what the floor plan is inside. But the
So you're
staircase,
thinking-
the staircase was
By the end
preserved.
of the year,
I'm hoping I'd be very far along, at least, from the outside, it would look complete.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. I don't know how complicated the site work's going to be. I have a site plan and I have all the septics approved and everything else, but I got to get into it. And there's a perched water table there, is what it is.
Yeah, very high because they have
Yes.
problems there.
But there is a slope down to the railroad, and there is a culvert there, and I think there could be a natural reliever point there to daylight it, to get that hydrostatic, because the way water works hydrostatically is it goes to the path of least resistance. Right now, that's bubbling up in the basement. That's the path. But if you had the proper drainage and everything, it would follow into that pipe, and that pipe had a daylight on somewhere. That's where it would go. It wouldn't go in the building.
I think also that's an issue of the fact that that's all fill from when the mill burned down and that building was then replaced. So, it's probably a combination of both the high water temperature and the fact that that's completely disturbed.
Yeah.
Strata in that.
But
part of the world.
I can handle it, and I know what to do, and we'll
Great.
do it.
Fantastic.
I'm excited about Burnett. I want you guys to know I'm there almost every day. At least 3 times a week, at least, sometimes 4. I typically come up on Saturdays with my wife, show her the progress, and she's heavily involved in the decorating of it. And we love French antiques and French. It's very French inside.
I would have guessed with 21 chandeliers.
But it's even the kitchen is all done French country. It's awesome, really. There's still going to be a pub in the basement, Michael. You can still come have a drink, but
I'm waiting for the pub. I'm telling you.
It's not going to be as grand as it once was, because I am going to put under the I'm putting like a gate doors that are so that glass house that you see there. I am going to tuck in a garage under there that you'll see. You won't even know it's a garage, but I'm putting that underneath there now that I'm living there. But it's all part of the structure that's there already. It's already stone veneered and everything else. So you won't even, unless I told you that was there, you wouldn't even know it. But
does anyone have any questions for Mr. JDP?
No, I just want to say welcome you and your family to Southborough. It's
thanks.
glad you're going to be living here, and thank you for all of your hard work on the house. I just wanted to go back to, you said the staircase was saved for Fayetteville Hall. Is that
The staircase, that nice staircase, when you first walk in,
Yeah, I remember it. So I was wondering.
that staircase is really the only architectural thing that nobody modified
I
from
agree.
the original
yeah.
build, and I've saved it.
That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that.
But everything else, it was like, there was ceilings below ceilings, and
Sure.
I've
Yeah.
never, this one is interesting. 3 types of wiring in that building.
Mhm.
Knob and tube, early what today you call it BX, which is the armored wire, and then modern Romex, all mixed. I mean, it's just horrible. The plumbing was everything is, but all that was just, it was like each generation kind of rehacked the place.
Yeah.
And but that's why there's just, but the staircase is beautiful, and I was careful to make sure that stayed.
That's wonderful. Good.
Even a lot of the original doors were so compromised, there was nothing there. But here's the beauty of it. I'm doing a project in Lakeville, and it was an old mansion that was built exactly the same year as Fayetteville Hall. So the mansion was butchered, and it was added on to. It became a nursing home. If you're ever interested, if you jot this down, you could go take a look at what I did there. It's called the project's called Lake Point in Lakeville, Mass. But anyway, originally there was a building there, a big mansion that was built in this property, and then it got added on to. It became a nursing home in the 50s. But it was past the point of revival, so it was torn down, and I tore it down, and we're doing a project there. But I saved all the original doors that were in the mansion and everything else, and they're beautiful 2-inch thick, beautiful doors, the right period and everything else. And that's what I'm going to use in Fayetteville. I'm going to use really good. I have enough salvage that I kept out of that, right hinges and knobs and everything else.
That's
So
great.
I just, it's kind of fate, that I was able to, collect all that. And I have enough oak and stuff that I can remill the baseboards and, in the right period, and all that. So it's,
John, it's not fate. You're a hoarder. You know it.
well, I'm lightening it up. I'm lightening it up. I consigned a whole bunch of stuff to 2 different auctions, 550 lots to one auction and 100 to another. So I'm shedding some baggage.
And that leaves you with what?
Yeah, so, but no, but I'm excited about being part of the town. My family is too, and I might put my little one. I have a 3-year-old, as you may know, and I'm going to put him. He just turned 3, and I might put him in Faye. Maybe we'll see. And then the other one is in the arts. He loves the arts. I'm making a beautiful art studio in one of the rooms in the lower of the. In the lower level of the carriage house. I'm gonna make a really nice art studio from. There's bathrooms down there I put in there and everything, all handicapped accessible, everything. Yeah. So, because I set it up as a wedding venue. So it's all, it's, and, anybody's ever interested in the tour, I am going to be leaving for a bit. I'm headed to Florida for a bit, but,
Yeah.
but when I get back in April, I do come back periodically for a day here, a day there. But my family, I just can't get enough remodeling. I just remodeled this house in Sanibel, and that was a real buster down there. But anyway, so we're headed down there next week, and then we'll stay for a bit, and then I typically come back every couple of weeks for a day or two. But really, there'll be a lot to look at in April. A real finished,
Great.
close to being finished. So. Anybody's welcome. You guys have been very good to me, and I'm really glad to be part. I really want to see this Christmas thing take off and find a way to kind of see if they work out for the, it could be a neat little thing, and
Vaccinated.
So, but
Firstly,
that was my thoughts.
I'm looking for someone over 75 to drive.
And if you folks have any, if anybody calls up complaining or anything, just call me right away, and I'll explain whatever we're doing. I mean,
No, it's just, as you say, it's very hard to understand what's going on when things are halfway through. Right. But I think the proof is in the pudding with the craftsmanship and the materials that have gone in. So fine by us. John, I want to thank you for coming, and we'll check in with you when you get back in April.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Good
Thanks,
night, guys.
John.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Well, that was all good news for once.
Yeah.
Isn't that fantastic? And I think I'm very excited about the potential for the cultural activities there too, because I think that just sort of feeds in with this whole regeneration of the Main Street process that we're talking about. So
You made my day talking about Christmas. I was going to chime in there, but I figured I wouldn't.
I still have some of my internal lights up inside because it's just, so dark. It's just like I'm just keeping the light shine it.
I
shine it.
was just happy to hear he'd still, he'll still be interested, hopefully, whenever I can reboot the house tour. So, because he was
bet-
actually such a pleasure to work with on that. So,
Wonderful.
All right. Next, 21 Flag Road permit review. Can we pull up Mr. Thorne? please?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Can everyone hear me, see me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you. Hello. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
So do you have some slides to show us today or some pictures to show?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can share I can share street views and I can share the model and I can share the whole scope of things.
That would be great. Can we make sure that he has screen sharing enabled?
Look, there's a button I can click share screen.
Okay.
Oh, it says host disabled participant screen share.
Yeah, you need to do that, Rebecca. I think I used to know how to do that.
I can make you a co-host.
If you just make co-host, he should be able to get the green
Yeah.
button, Rebecca, to share screen.
There you go.
All right, let me give it a shot now.
So just before you get started, I just wanted to give a little background here. As you know, I've become the assistant to the building department in reviewing these permits, which are now all coming to me. And this permit had a little bit of a quirk in it in the sense that it had a tower addition, which I don't think is an issue, but I wasn't able to just sign off on it because it does impact in terms of the percentage of facade and other things. So I just thought it would be worthwhile to show everyone sort of what the story is and what the proposals were, and then we can sign off. As I said, I personally didn't think this was a huge problem, but on the other hand, I couldn't just say go ahead. So with that being said, take it away, Mr. Thorne.
Yeah, I mean, my only comment is that I don't know if there's some procedure in Southborough. I had no idea that it would have to go through a historical review. And I certainly would have been totally happy to get input from you guys. But from my perspective, this is happening kind of at the 10th hour. I submitted the plans to the building department January 6th, and then I didn't hear anything about this till last week, and so it threw me into a loop, So hopefully it can get resolved tonight, but I'll let you guys all get your eyes on it. We can chat about it. Okay.
Yep.
So let's see. Let me share. Okay, I got to move things around on my screen here. All right, I think this is the most pertinent thing. So can you guys see this image?
Yep.
Okay, this is the front of 21 Flag Road. I'm just going to go through a series. I'm not sure what order they're in. Okay, this is the same view with the proposed addition. Basically, the proposal is to add a tower to the back of this building to house the staircase.
Duncan, excuse me, it's Jim Bresky. There's a black line across the middle.
Oh, there is? Huh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's is that better?
No.
There.
Oh, yeah,
There.
Yep.
Okay, there's probably a lag time. So, yeah, essentially what you can see kind of peeking up behind is this tower. I can show you a three-dimensional model that we can roam around in the future. And then this is sort of the southeast view from Flag Road. Flag Road kind of slopes down. So the portion in yellow is the proposed addition, and the rest of this in blue and white is the existing house. And this is the south west view. And you can see that
sort of tower area creeping up there. And then this is a view of the house, the existing house. There's a screened-in porch back here, and then this is a kitchen addition that was done, I don't know, sometime in modern, in the last 20 years. So that's the same, close to the same view. Basically, in the proposed version, we're basically adding a second-story addition over the existing kitchen that's in this location, and then a master bedroom suite over that existing kitchen with a walkout deck over that existing porch. And then the existing staircase inside the house is super steep. They have toddlers. It's really hard to navigate. And the upstairs, because it's such an ancient house, the upstairs has 3 tiny rooms. So putting the staircase in that tower basically combines 2 rooms to make them a reasonable sized room, and then kind of eliminates the problem. This is the existing southeast side of the house. You can see this second floor addition was put on sometime in, I don't know if it was done at the same time as the kitchen addition or not. That's that same southwest view. And then, yeah, this is the southeast view with that proposed addition on the second floor and that tower poking above from that side. So I can bring up, if you want to see the whole model, just to get a little better overview. Let me pop that up. Can you guys see that now?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. This is the flags. This is the view from Flag. So that's the front of the house. Flag Street is so low that if you're on Flag Street, you can't see anything at all if you're directly in front of the house. But once you get over to this view, it's probably a view something like that. And when you go over to this side, it's a view something. There's a huge oak tree right here, but so you're the real visit. That's probably what you see from that side is something like that. And then the back of it, it looks like this basically. So there's a master bedroom and bathroom in this wing over the existing kitchen. In the past, the kitchen was put on and it has these 9-foot ceilings. So the proposed addition, I tried to keep this roof line as low as I could by putting knee walls here. So this is a 6-foot knee wall, but the space is so narrow that in order to have usable space in it, this is only 12 feet wide. In order to have usable space, I had to keep that knee wall. I wanted to have it at 4 or 5 feet, but it just didn't leave it enough usable area up on the second floor. But that's sort of an overview of what the proposed project is. Does anyone have any questions or want to see anything?
Questions, anybody?
I have one question. So I see, the areas clearly that you're adding. Are you demoing any part of the existing structure in order to build or rebuild these new parts?
No, just that this section over here has an existing 1-story roof over it. So, just the roof that was over this area is getting removed to build this second floor addition.
Okay.
This area right here is where that sort of flat roof kind of ugly addition that was put on in the past is, which I've been trying to, blend this roof line into the old sort of Victorian, style stuff up, out in the front as best I could and keep this roof line as low as possible. But the only thing that is changing is the roof line of this area where all these sort of modern looking windows has a roof over it. And there was a roof over this existing screened in porch. I can go back to those images and let's
No,
see.
I actually think we're good in terms of getting an idea. Let me just tell you my thinking on this, and the reason I've asked you guys just to weigh in. This is technically a substantial change to the facades, view visible from the street. However, it's kind of borderline, really. And I just wanted to hear what you think. I personally don't have much problem with it because the house has been considerably altered over the years. But I just want to hear what you think about this, and let's take a vote as to whether this would fall under the purview of the demolition delay bylaw. It kind of skirts right on the edge. Thoughts?
I'm curious so the back addition looks quite modern and the front's quite Victorian. Are there plans to blend those things? And if so, does that require any amount of demolition at the front to blend? Are they making changes to the front facade of the house, the original house?
Well, I agree with you. The kitchen addition that was put on in the past has a really modern look to it. And so and as a matter of fact, the eave line across that existing section is much more modern. It doesn't have the little small, the front of the house has these beautiful little brackets on it, and a 1 foot overhang with a crown molding going up to the roof. So, my desire was to try to sort of heal those things. And when I went up to the second floor to recreate that same roof line with the 1 foot overhang and those roof brackets and the crown molding that would wrap around that, and also just keeping that roof line as low as possible in scale in order to do that on that second story section. And then with the addition of the tower, I just think that is, in terms of the additions to the house, is the one thing that sort of sticks to the sort of Victorian roots of the house is the idea of that tower, as opposed to that wing on the back that is, kind of more modernized. But there's only so much I can do to try to heal that section.
Yeah, I was just more concerned if there were plans for that there would be more demolition involved than just the roof.
No, it's really just sort of tying that front roof line into that. I can show you that, what I mean, if you want me to go back to it, but
That's okay.
if you think it's necessary. But yeah, essentially, it's sort of blending. I don't know if you remember that one of the first pictures I showed you showed a flat roofed addition that had been put on the second floor. So it's sort of eliminating that flat roof section and bringing that gable over to that old existing peak on that east side of the house, and then incorporating that same eave line with the brackets to sort of bring those things back together. Although, the scale itself is sort of what I'm left with building over the existing kitchen, to have the floor levels at the same height as the existing second floor of the house. So
Duncan,
I have tried really hard to try to work on those things. But
Duncan, what's the tower function? Is it decorative, or is there something going on in the upper sections there?
It's just basically the existing staircase is so steep, and it causes problems and interrupts the bedroom. So basically, it's just the house, the staircase, and then in order to create a roof line that seemed appropriate, it seemed like the best thing would be to shoot above those existing roof lines, and so we don't trap water or have some sort of shed roof kind of attached glom-on thing on the back of the house. So and then it was sort of inspired by looking at a bunch of old Victorian houses with towers on them. So and they do, there is a third story landing with a little bench seat, like a Queen Anne stained glass window, that looks out over the backyard. So you could go up to that landing and read a book and sit in the tower. I mean, that's the idea of it.
Kate?
I was wondering if it was under our purview, and looking based on the pictures, I feel very comfortable with the front facade is relatively unchanged. I know that then you see the tower peeking out, but from all the 360 pictures that we saw, I thought it was really in keeping with the style of the home, and I don't necessarily feel like it falls under demo delay, and I think the addition is quite nice, so I feel comfortable with it.
Annie, what do you have to say?
I agree with Kate. Looking at the pictures, I question whether it's under our purview. It doesn't really seem like demolition, necessarily. I think it's more of an addition, which, I think what Duncan has put together looks really nice. So I have no objections to supporting this.
Jim?
I'm in the same place. I was asking about the tower, wondering about the elevation of it, but truly the front of the house isn't affected. It's really just what's out on the back and what you can see from certain vantage points, but it is nicely done, so no objections.
Amanda?
I agree. I have the same thoughts as everybody has already expressed. I wondered about if it was in our purview, and I like the way it looks. And
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the tower, simply because I think that putting things in that were not there previously is not something that we want to try to do with our historical buildings. But this is a matter of my personal taste and has nothing to do with the demolition delay bylaw. So you have my support as well. Let's just take a vote that this is not in our purview. Kate? Oh, yeah. Do we need a second on that?
Do you want me to make the motion? Or do you want to make?
Yeah, no, that's right. I'm ahead of myself. Please, someone make the motion.
Yeah, I can make, so I make the motion that we support this addition as not under the purview of the Historical Commission and the demo delay bylaw.
Seconded.
Seconded. All right. Kate?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Annie?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Amanda?
yes.
My son votes yes. So there you go. Mr. Thorne, you're free of us.
Great, thank you so much. That's a big relief.
I will notify the building inspector right now, in fact.
Fantastic.
And you should be just checking with her.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning to make sure that everything is fine with her from her end. Okay.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks for your time, guys, and thanks for looking at it so promptly for me.
Thanks for using SketchUp to demonstrate it. I used the personal version. I didn't realize you could actually charge people to use it.
Yeah. No, I use it all the time. It's fantastic.
Great program.
Yeah,
I've used it a
it is a
bunch of
great program. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And good luck.
Night.
With
Thank
the
you very
project. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, wait, I think did I make you a host? No. Okay.
Yep. There you go.
Because he could have shut the whole meeting down.
Well, there was enough of a demolition aspect in this and enough of a facade change that I just wanted your, buy-in before we sign off.
I appreciate that. I think it's good for us to have to, I think it's good for us to question some of that and have a discussion as a commission.
Actually, I have a kind of a point of order question. When there's an addition like this, where indeed you've got to take a roof out, is that truly considered demolition from our respect, or is it when you change the foundation and footings and the front of the house and so on?
Well, I think what we're trying to, judge and standardize is that if these changes substantially reflect the facades visible from the street that incorporate demolition as part of their process, potentially this does fall within our purview. Obviously there are 99 degrees of gray in this issue, so I think that's why I asked Mr. Thorne to come, so I didn't have to make that decision myself, because inevitably, if I had made that decision, someone would have come and said, well, you said that they could go do that. Fortunately, I'm still trying to work out this arrangement with Lori. And what I'm trying to do, we have a higher standard than the building commissioner can demand, in the sense of, I've been asking consistently to see elevations for these projects that have been proposed. And there's not been many, but there was one on Southville Road, and I think there's another one. So in Southborough, if you're the owner of a house, you can simply say, I'm going to put an addition on my house. And if you function as your own contractor, you don't have to hire an architect or have any architectural drawings. And so on the Southville Road thing, for instance, it was essentially like a sketch on the back of an envelope. That's by law, by state law, that is permissible if they sign a waiver saying they're functioning as their own contractor. However, there's no possible way as a commission that we can judge the extent of historical changes if we don't actually have some sort of scaled drawing. So what I've said to Lori is that these things need to come to us in some sort of architectural drawing format, like Mr. Thorne presented here. He's the builder, so that we can sort of, see, because this is what I'm going to do kind of thing, is really highly problematic, as we have seen before on Highland Street. So, in order to get out of that, this is what I've been requiring. So hopefully that will get us at a basic level. And I don't think this is an unreasonable demand, in the same way that if you want to build a septic, you need a septic plan. If you want to build you need a conservation easement, this is, I think, a requirement to have some sort of visual presentation to this, so you can see what's going on. Anyway, so so we're still working through that relationship, and ideally we'll get it to the point where I don't have to get all these back and forth, because on this thing alone, I think there were like 27 emails or something, because the automatic town system pings you every time there's a change or an update to the plan. So it's like, oh, there's been a plan updated. Oh, there's been a change. Oh, there's been an approval. Oh, the plumbing approval. So I'm not to drive myself crazy on this. I'm trying to figure out how we can, do this. On the other hand, we don't want to lose any more historic houses. So I think for the interim, I'm stuck with this until we can figure out a better system. Okay. Reports and updates from individual commissioners. Now, no sooner did I actually write this agenda that I got a notice, as did all the other town and boards, from Mark Purple saying that we needed reports and updates from people was not allowed under open meeting law, because it wasn't individually described enough. However, my reply was, since everyone has a brief and we've talked about this for this meeting, this thing could stand, because we've already said who is going to be reporting on what and what the situations are going to be. But in future agendas, I think it will be Kate reporting on blah, Rebecca reporting on blah, 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 so that people can see if there is some level of involvement. So with that having been said, reports and updates. Kate, do you have anything to talk to us about?
Just that document for the master plan committee that I sent to you all. Michael, thank you for working on that. I talked about it very briefly last night at the master plan committee meeting. And actually it got some nice feedback that they seem to be, more measurable goals than the 2008 plan had. And certainly, as we've intended, and I talked about too, with sort of a real, more of a shift towards education, a real education aspect for the Historical Commission with different things that we do.
Kate, Kate, can you share that? Because I don't think anyone else saw that except.
Oh, no, I sent it via email today to everybody.
Yeah, we saw it.
I have no idea how to share anything.
Okay.
I just sit on all these meetings. I don't know how to actually do any of that. I
Okay,
just type.
that's fine. So everyone else has seen it. I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, so
Dee
let me
get a
just tell
copy
you what
too.
we need to do. So it's just, the document that I sent to you all today was from Judith Watson. She's one of the co-chairs of the Master Plan Committee. The left section is what was in the 2008 Master Plan. The right section has the proposed changes. That was some information that Michael had. And then just questions, because we as a committee want to ultimately, we want to officially vote on this draft of these goals and recommendations to put in the master plan update. That being said, their goal is for presenting it at town meeting, but we do know that at this point, and based on last year, I would assume that it's going to be end of May, early June. So we have time to work on this. But everybody, I would say that everybody definitely needs to review this, maybe individually give me their feedback, or we can talk about it in more detail, line by line at the next meeting and just officially vote on it. It's pretty simple. It's not it's not a huge document, but.
One clarification question. So Michael sent around a write-up where he added to the master plan and updated all that. Then this document came, which overlapped it to some degree. Are those two documents? Have they become one? Kate, what's the?
Yeah,
overall?
so the document I sent today is Judith took Michael's information, which is the updated, and compared it to the 2008, just to verify with everybody on the commission that yes, for example, that we are getting rid of the 2008 goal of recruit historical architect. So just so that we can confirm that, and then we just need to agree with the proposed goals and recommendations that Michael rewrote for us.
So I didn't check one against the other, but does everything that Michael wrote up wind up in the updated master plan document?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And just to quickly go over these things. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't everyone did everyone have a chance to look at this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what, just to be safe for the open meeting law thing, let us put it on the agenda for next time to officially vote. And because we didn't actually say that this was coming down the road.
I will just say and maybe it will work out, the next master plan committee meeting we have is on March 10th. Ideally, if we can make it work, that we can have our next meeting ahead of that might be too soon. If we can do it, if not, there's not a huge rush on this. I just want to, I just let them know that I'd stay in communication with them so that we can make sure that, we want to have a voice in the master plan update. So.
Yeah, I don't think that there's going to be much substantive changes to this because, essentially it's the things that we've already talked about. Right. We're removing the historical architect, which I'm not even quite sure what that was all about.
Yeah.
In use of tax credits, there are no tax credits anymore, so we got rid of that. We changed the National Register district to focus on the downtown because I can't imagine trying to do National Register districts for Corderville, Fayetteville, and Southville, considering how long it's taken just to do this downtown and how expensive it's been.
Yep.
Then the Tricentennial Celebrations, I just changed the wording slightly around. The new recommendations are focused on education and outreach. Educate our residents about the history of Southborough through innovative programming and events in conjunction with the Southborough Historical Society. Expand school outreach in conjunction with the Southborough Historical Society to increase our children's awareness of the importance of an educated and informed citizenry. Contribute along with associated town boards and committees to create a cultural corridor along Main Street, linking various significant sites through an interactive walking tour. Work in conjunction with the Southborough Historical Society to preserve, catalog, and digitize our historical archives for the benefit of all. Encourage the use of our adaptive reuse historic buildings bylaw to preserve and renew historically significant structures for the 21st century. So essentially, I took what we're actually doing and put it into wordage. So
And I'll say one final thing, Michael, I'm sorry to interrupt you. In the email I sent today too, at the meeting yesterday, Judith then just asked us to consider, and I know most of us weren't, haven't been on the commission all that long, is to come up with, I think, what did I say in the email? Something like 3 to 5 things that we're sort of most proud of that we've accomplished over the past 10 years, to include as part of the narrative. So something to think about, that we could add a little blurb about that.
Okay.
Shouldn't be hard. We have lots of things.
Oh, well.
So if we can just make sure we officially put this on the next agenda so that we can, and that if maybe I can give everybody homework to just read it through, make sure that everybody approves, and then we can either, edit it a little bit or vote on it. So
That's fine. So we'll put it up for final discussion and take a look at it now or in the next whatever period of time.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of things we've done, I mean, I know what we're proud of. I'm not necessarily know that other people are so excited. Demolition delay bylaw being one of them. Personally, I'm very proud of that. But I'm also very proud of the adaptive reuse bylaw. But I'm also concerned that it's not seen much use.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we haven't lost any structures. And, that could have been the case with 21 Flag Road. This could have been a demo permit, for the structure, for instance. So, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a lot of use for this adaptive reuse piece. And so I think part of the problem is that people don't know actually what it is and know about it.
Right.
And it would be nice I don't know how we can maybe talk with the planning board to try to make sure that folks know about this, because I think especially for people who want to age in place, who maybe want to create an au pair apartment, that in other words, there's help here available to our townsfolk that I don't necessarily know that they know about. So,
well, that's something I can talk with planning about, and I could actually bring that up too at a SHOPC meeting, because actually at a lot of those meetings, the adaptive reuse bylaws brought up quite a bit in SHOPC. It has, obviously their goal is affordable housing. They've talked a lot about accessory apartments and how to not necessarily make that affordable housing because it might not qualify. There's too many loopholes, but that it certainly helps out the town's diversity of housing, which is a chapter in the new update. So that's sort of some information I can talk about too with those two boards and see if, there's a way to discuss it a little bit more, get a good little bit of more PR out there for the bylaw. And I can bring it up at SHOPC too, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think also it would be worthwhile, with to have a concerted effort with the building commissioner as well, Jim, and that might, involve you, because I think, in terms of promoting these kind of adaptive reuse things on a sort of developer level, might forestall some of these demolition requests. So I think that would be something to talk with her about. And also, as a matter of fact, I think it might be worthwhile. Mark Purple's proposed this, that we sit down and Jim, you could maybe attend this with me to try to streamline this working relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, please, for your sake. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for my sake, and also because I still think that the process has problems in terms of catching all the issues. So,
yeah.
Okay, so we are all agreed that will be pushed to the next meeting.
And if anybody has any questions or comments, just shoot me an email. Just make sure you only shoot me an email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Michael, do you want to try and set that meeting with the building commission ahead of time? So we try and get that.
Yeah, we need to talk to Mr. Purple and kind of set that up. But I would say let's do that in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, and we'll definitely set it up.
Yeah.
So nag me about it, and I'll make it happen.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So without exception, let's move to the next meeting. Rebecca, do you have anything to report to us?
I do not.
Okay. Jim?
Nothing. No.
Nothing. Amanda, you're out of this loop. Annie, what's going on at CPC? Anything of interest for us?
Yeah, so we were supposed to have a meeting this week that got rescheduled to next week. It's a pretty big meeting leading up to town meeting, finalizing our recommendations for the CPC projects that are in front of us for this year, as well as the CPC projects that were tabled from last year's town meeting. So finalizing our recommendations and budgets, and funding buckets and everything like that. So I should have more to report, at our next meeting. But next week should be a pretty big week for CPC to finalize things for town meeting.
Good, excellent.
Mhm.
All right. Anybody else have anything to add that would come under the soon to be discontinued reports and updates? No. Okay. So the discussion of the proposed burial ground project is also being moved to next time because Karen wasn't ready to talk to us. But I do intend that that should be a fairly substantive meeting because they do want our input on formulating these pathways. There's some what the signage is going to be. I'm going to push quite heavily that it not just go around the old burial ground, but also go through it, or at least have an opening made on the library end so you can safely access the old burial ground without having to jump over the wall as you currently do. So I think there's a lot of really interesting things. And I also read something last night in my Southborough that they got some additional funds, something short of under $1 million to further do more work. And I didn't fully understand that. So I'm sure Karen can bring us up to date on where they are with that whole process. I also want to talk to her about a couple of things. That stone that they took out, that mile marker stone that they took out of the walkway there, has never been replaced. So that stone, that historical stone that marked the end of the highway, that was that mysterious, I don't know if you guys remember, there was that mysterious little square thing that was sitting there in front of the little house there on the corner. So that sort of disappeared. And correct me if I'm wrong, but was there not a lot of talk about the railings around the Civil War monument and getting those restored as part of this process? Didn't we go around and I know Joe was really concerned with this and met Karen about those iron railings.
My recollection was that just to make sure that the railings were replaced and
Right. Not I don't remember it I thought it was just replaced.
Well, repaired or replaced or restored or whatever, but none of that's happened.
Restored. I just meant I thought it was just that they were going to be put back.
Put them back, don't discard them.
Right.
Okay, well, some of them are falling down, parts of them are missing. I mean, they're not particularly hard to do. It's just black pipe. But literally that's the kind term for it, black pipe, iron pipe. So, I think that maybe we can ask Karen if we could work on getting that fixed, because part of it's down. And I also like to get the tree planting plan for that area, because every time you look at the photos, you see how heavily and shaded it was. And I'd like to make sure that it is again, at least for future generations, because I don't know if we'll be here long enough, but shaded. People actually sit there, surprisingly, even now and bake in that sun. So anyway, so we'll try to pull her in, but this is a fairly big deal, and my understanding is that this whole process is going to happen very quickly because the state mandates that these things be done within a very certain time frame. So hopefully we'll have some. Yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah.
How long have we been talking about this? Hooray! Hooray!
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely.
All right.
Quick
Go
question
ahead.
about the pipes. Do you know when were they first put in place? Like how historically significant are they?
Well, they appear in all the photos of all the Civil War veterans standing there. So I'm presuming they date to the Civil War. That was a typical Victorian treatment, those pipes with those metal loops and the stone posts. So and as I say, there's nothing to fixing it because it is literally the type of pipes that steam fitters use, and just cut and fix. So I don't think it would be a big deal to actually have that finished up and replicated. So I think we're also missing the street sign that was there, the old street sign. I don't know if that's there. I don't know. We have a grab bag of issues to talk to Karen about next time. Okay. So changes to the wording. I did not send, and this is my bad, the proposed revisions down to Mass Historical. So we have no discussion unless you guys have something that you want to say about the changes of the wording. I am increasingly inclined not to try to make these changes for this town meeting, simply because I would like some more breathing room to understand what's working now and what's not working. I think the proposed changes that we've suggested are good. However, I've also come to understand that it might be better to have some of these, have some of the wording left more vaguely in the law, like substantial, and then define it in the guidelines so that you can continue to change the guidelines without having to go back and change the law. So I'd like to, and it might be worthwhile to have the Mass Historical man join us for one of these meetings. What was his name? I forget. That nice man we met with Rebecca.
Yeah, I forget his name.
Chris Skelly. Christopher Skelly.
Yeah, Chris Skelly.
Chris Skelly. Yeah, and I think it would be really beneficial also for you guys to be part of that conversation, because Rebecca and I learned a lot about this process and about the correct wording. So before we make any final changes, I just don't think that I don't want to go and change this thing ever again, or at least not while I'm around. And we've already twiddled with it twice. And so I'd like to try to, make whatever final changes we have.
That seems wise to me.
Fine.
May I add to that too, is I do think at town meeting, because remember, we're carrying over a ton of things from last year. Plus, there's also going to be the downtown initiative bylaw, which is a big zoning change. And I forget what else there's another thing, but I of course just blanked. But and I think thinking about the fact that it will be easier for us, just in other discussions I've been in with like planning board and stuff, easier to change a rules and regulations document than a bylaw. So we probably want to decide on what those changes will be really carefully and thoroughly, and then have our, design guidelines or rules and regulations or whatever they are, which will be easier changed over the years, right? As different things change. My 2 cents.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add is that if we delay trying to get this done a little bit, we have more experience with applications coming up. It's always good to kind of beta test for a while before you go for the deal. So let's just get rid of the ones we deal with.
That was my thought exactly.
Yeah.
To have, because every one of these things brings up a slightly new variant of the issues. And so with the more experience you have with the possibilities, as long as you're not being arbitrary or, abusive.
And making sure the public is aware of, some of these projects and some of the potential changes, garnering some support for different changes that we want to make, I think is an important aspect as well.
Yep. Annie, what do you think?
Yep, I agree. My one thought on, the changing the bylaw and making the wording a little bit more vague. I definitely understand how that, makes it so we don't have to continually update. But I do feel strongly that we also need to find a way to educate, our, members of the town on, what the changes are and what substantial means and, et cetera, while they vote on it. So, how can we find a balance to, really convey what the bylaw means in action versus what it says in writing, so that we, as Kate said, we can get the support of the community. And there's no surprises. For example, Karen from Main Street, what's her last name? Karen Connolly. Saying, oh, I didn't know I had to put my house on the market. stuff like that. So I think there's a happy medium. I like the changes that have been proposed so far, but I kind of still go back to, we need the townspeople to be really aware of what they're voting into action.
One thing, I don't necessarily think we ought to go too crazy on this, but before I came to Southborough, I built a house in the historic district of Sudbury. And there was a whole manual. I mean, it must have been an inch thick on design guidelines, requirements, driveway, everything. There might be some value to a handout that would include some illustrations of what's acceptable and what's not. In other words, I haven't thought this through because it came to me just now, but maybe there'd be some examples of what substantial looks like for demolition versus not. If you could quantify that somehow with maybe some sketches or outlines, it might, to Annie's point, give people a flavor of what's okay and what's not.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, Jim, because it literally at 7:30 right now, there's a planning board meeting going on about design guidelines for the downtown district bylaw. And in lots of communities, and I know Sudbury does, they have design guidelines. Now, those are specific to, that particular district or zone. And one of the critiques of that initial draft was just that it needs to be very specific, showing some pictures of what we want, what we don't want. And that, that is definitely something that we might want to consider. And for us, it wouldn't need to be, a big, huge document, but sort of a simple document. But, people respond, right, to do this, but not this, wear this, but not that,
Well, we started that along with that,
Right.
PDF guidelines for the first
Right.
time that we actually have that. And it would be very simple to illustrate some of those things. So I think, that we can just expand that outward as, as time goes by. But again, every one of these that comes along the way, gives us a little more experience with the process.
Yes. Absolutely.
So anyway, okay. So without exception, we're going to say that, we're going to move this discussion again into our upcoming meetings for the discussion. We'll try to find a time with Mr. Skelly to come and join us. Okay.
Do we need to tell anyone that we're considering moving this off the warrant? Because I think they had a placeholder for us, right?
Yes, I was going to say my to-do list should be to write to the Board of Selectmen and tell them that we don't need to have this placeholder anymore. We're not going to be ready for them, even if it's June. I have not gotten an answer back, by the way, speaking of the Board of Selectmen, from the letter I wrote to them over a month ago, offering to give the town $2,000 from the Historical Society to help figure out this internet problem at the museum. I finally wrote to Mark Purple and said, I'd really like a courtesy of a reply. It's hard to give away money in this town. I wrote to them essentially saying, and I believe I sent you all a copy of this, saying, listen, we are wasting $1,000 a year on this internet service. All this needs to is a hookup. We will throw in money, some money from our budget and some from the commission's budget and some money that we're already spending and some money from the Historical Society, which I'm sure will be happy to do this, to get this thing once and for all done. And I have not heard back. I know saving $1,000 a year is not high on their agenda right at the moment, given all their other issues, but still, it would be nice to hear back from them. So Sam, if you're with us and listening.
He's not, he left. I just looked to see if Sam was still on, but I think he just left a minute ago.
Okay, so anyone else who's watching this in recording mode, please get back to us. It's not very nice when I write to you and you don't answer my letter.
Well, I think that there's still, I think that's what they're doing is budget right now, left, right, and center. So I'm hoping, because I still haven't heard anything back from the meeting that I had. Not that I necessarily expected to, but I do know that they are still.
Well, and I said, listen,
budget.
We need another $1,000 a year if you're going to not do this, because we need to be able to do other things. It seems crazy I certainly don't want to have to get up in town meeting and explain why we needed a 30% increase simply because we need to pay a cable bill, but that we don't really have to pay. But there you have it. So out of my pay grade, as they say.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other business that may legally come before the commission? They don't like this phrase either.
No, let's get going. Nope.
No, but I've said that we're going to keep that phrase in there because if it's not, that we would be paying attention. First of all, this phrase has been in every single historical commission meeting since the very beginning.
It's on every agenda. Yeah, it's on every.
It is historical in and of itself. That being said, the legality of the business that can come before the commission has now been substantially reduced by the open meeting law. And therefore, if something comes that we have not, of substantive nature that we have not publicized, it needs to be postponed until the next meeting. Okay. So does anyone have anything else they would like to chat with or talk about or propose or any other issues?
I will move to adjourn.
I would
hear a
second.
I hear a second, and I'm going to say without exception, we are adjourned. Thank you. Oh, wait, hang on. We're not quite adjourned. Do we have dates set up for the next meetings?
Oh, no, that's what we need.
We went to February, and I don't think we ever went any further than that. Did we?
Are you sure?
I don't
No,
know.
I'm not sure.
We did. We have March 9th.
Oh,
Okay, so we went to March, but I think that's the end of them. Okay, do you want to do this next time then? Then we'll set the rest of the meetings when we convene on the 9th.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
the 9th is perfect because then my master plan committee meeting is on the 10th. So
Oh, you and this master plan thing.
listen, I'm just trying to give them the
as well.
information that they'd like.
I'm grateful that Kate has taken up the,
I try to not talk or anything. I just want to give them the document and be done so I can just do my little typing job. And, there's a lot to pay attention to at those meetings.
yes.
When you're typing.
I know I personally can't manage the panelists and the attendees here.
So that's why I can't talk and type. So,
yeah.
but yeah, so that'll be great. So put that at the tip top of the agenda.
Thank you for that, Kate. We could
Oh.
propose, by the way, a standing second Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock, unless otherwise specified.
I like that.
I mean, that makes it a little simpler.
The problem with Tuesdays is that every other town board and commission is on a Tuesday.
True.
And so we were originally on a Tuesday, and I went 8 days or 9 days in advance to set up the remote meeting rooms, and there were no meeting rooms to be had, which is why we're meeting today on a Thursday. Thursdays have a tendency to be better days. Fewer people meet on Thursdays. So perhaps
Make it
standing
second
Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, next time we'll talk about that next time. We'll set the dates and make that the thing next time.
Okay.
All right. So I think we are officially adjourned. As always, thank you. It is lovely to see you. I'm hoping that there will be a 75-year-old I can drive.
Not if I find them
If
first.
they have a
It's like I want to go get vaccinated. I want to go get vaccinated. I please want to be vaccinated. Oh God. So so as soon as possible, I'm hoping that we can all get stuck and be happy and go back to seeing you in person again, because I miss you all. All right.
I've
Thank
never
you so
been
much.
to a meeting in person, so
Oh my God.
me.
Yeah. We have a good time. We have a nice time at the museum too. We often have some food.
I
and-
bring food. I know. It's like sometimes I bring food.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
I
great.
like to have food at meetings. Anyway,
Oh, I know. Well,
I think
it
we need
also-
a roll call vote that we adjourned to.
no, I don't think so. We can do without exception. I read that in Robert's
Oh,
rule.
good. Great.
So without exception, we are adjourned. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.